Very good. Good morning, all. Looks like things have started to slow down with the session room, so we're actually going to go ahead and get started now. My name is Jacob. I am the head of marketing and sales here at EventHub, so cover quite a bit of things. And today we're going to go over virtual event tools. It's a lot of the tools that we use and the events that we put on, and also on a regular basis here at EventHub. So we'll be going over all of those. Let's jump over here. So when you are planning a virtual and hybrid event, there's a couple different things and tools and categories we want to kind of put them in. First, we'll cover virtual event platforms, obviously that being kind of the biggest in this area. Then we'll go into how to then deliver your program, then what the marketing looks like ahead of time, and some of the planning and management. For us, we feel that program delivery is the most important, so I'll spend the most time on that here today. Cool. So getting into virtual and hybrid event platforms. So the key here is to make sure that when you are going to pick these platforms, and obviously I'm going to be a little bit biased because we do have one, but what is the key thing here is to figure out what matters most to your stakeholders. So if your stakeholders are your attendees and they are the ones that drive your revenue with the ticketing, then you need to figure out how to get your attendees engaged, what's going to make that event matter most to them, what's going to turn off Netflix for them, and have them come to your live events. I mean, that's the other thing now with like virtual and hybrid events is where you're no longer just competing with going to dinner or going to the movies if it was a live event. Now in a virtual event space, you're competing with those, but you're now also competing with, okay, well, what's the difference between turning on Netflix versus going to this virtual event? So when you are putting this all together, have that in the mindset that you're creating an experience that is different than what they could typically get if they just turned on the remote and went to what they were doing already. So if your stakeholders are sponsors, then you need to make sure that you have certain sponsorship deliverables that are available on the platform. Make sure that there's enough for your sponsors to get their money, right? So all of that has to say, you got to keep your event revenue at the top of mind too, just kind of what we talked about there. So if it's tickets, make sure that the programming is important and the platform has the ability to do good programming. If it's sponsorship, make sure the deliverables are there. If it's event vendors and crafters or anyone else, make sure that they have a good virtual booth and that they have ways to gather leads and interact with attendees. Right? Keep revenue at the top of mind, stakeholders top of mind. Cost versus benefits. There's some very expensive platforms out there, and there's some platforms that you can use for a couple $100. So make sure that you understand, okay, if this is my program, I don't need all the bells and whistles of a $10,000 program. I can get away with using a $2,000 program or a $100 program, right? Make sure that the benefits kind of match what your program is. Flexibility between virtual and hybrid. This is, not necessarily important right this minute, but as we get further along with COVID, you do want to have some flexibility in your platform. And it's also easy here to go to your sponsors and say, here's the deal. In your sponsorship contract, we are hoping to have a live event that takes place in April. And that the event that live event doesn't happen, your sponsorship then transitions over to an entirely virtual sponsorship. We'll hold the deposit you gave us now. In the case of the live event, they would pay you in full, but you would just have a deposit for the virtual event. You still keep that sponsorship money. They still get the deliverables from you, but you only got that because you had the flexibility between having a platform that's entirely virtual or having a platform that has the ability to do the hybrid as well. And then stick to what makes your event great. So if you guys know that you're good at your programming, stick to that. If you know that the expo is what draws people in, have a platform that can make sure that you draw it in from the expo side. You guys know how your event works best, and so make sure that you kind of cater to that in your event programming. Cool. Moving on to program delivery. So when I talk about program delivery, I'm mostly talking about live streaming here and the content that you are going to be giving your attendees. So there's a couple things to keep in mind. And the first one is hardware. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but it's often overlooked. So you will want a webcam that actually is a 1080p webcam. So most computers, and I have one of the latest MacBook Pros, it comes standard with 720. And the difference between 720 and 1080 is night and day. And as far as just professionalism goes, it's one of the easiest ways to make your live stream look more professional. Good Wi-Fi is obviously key. Most people recommend actually having Ethernet. So if you can hook up your computer right to your box, that's the best way to do it for live streaming. Then you have no glitches in the Wi-Fi at all there and the signal strength. Microphone is important. So as you can see here, I am using a condenser microphone. So it's up to you guys on how you want to do this. I geek out on this. I DJ in my spare time. And so I use a full setup that goes to an audio driver and everything that works for me. There's good podcast mics out there that work with USBs, but they're very hit and miss. So when you're going on Amazon, make sure that you look at the reviews, especially for the USB microphones, because some of them aren't as great. They might be cheap. They just might not have a good enough quality. So definitely keep that in mind. But anything is better than the microphones built into your computer and the microphone that's built into your headphones. So try to have a better microphone if possible. Lighting and framing best practices. So there's a lot of different things you can do here. I have a daytime light bulb going right in front of me here. It adds a little bit of contour to the side of my face. Makes it look a little bit more professional. That's typically what they do when they're on like real production sets in Hollywood, is trying to add content contour to the face. I'm using a virtual background today. So if you were to use a virtual background, you can green screen it. Most of the backgrounds now are good enough. And I have some tools that I'll get to later in the program that you can just set it up easily and virtually. But there are ways to do green screen that allows you to have more post-production editing. If you were to have a pre-recorded video and then go into post-production, it's easier for your video editors to edit things with the green screen. A couple things to keep in mind. So moving on into the actual live streaming section of this, and I'm actually going to pull out my notes because there's a lot of important things here that we need to kind of go over for the live streaming. So the three main platforms that we recommend and use on a regular basis are YouTube Live, Vimeo Pro, and Twitch. And the main reason for this is that they're the three best platforms out there for a multitude of different reasons. The streaming quality is the best. They all have enabled chat features, and they work the best with live music. So you got to keep that in mind. If you know that any of your programming is going to have live music in it, these are the three platforms to use to make sure that that quality comes out, that the artist can actually have their session and it sound good. Couple things to also keep in mind here. YouTube and Twitch are free to use to get started on. Vimeo Premium and Vimeo Pro is a little bit more expensive. The key trade-off there is that with licensed music, Vimeo tends to turn like a blind eye to some of the licensed music. They don't shut it down right away. If YouTube and Twitch notice that you're using licensed music, they'll start running ads over your live stream. Typically, if you have an event of scale, it's always good to go and get the license for the music first. But you might sometimes have issues if you have a band that was playing a song that YouTube picks up as it might be licensed. Then you have a problem because now YouTube's running ads over the top of your live stream, and that just doesn't look good for your event live stream. So Vimeo is one of the ones where they kind of turn a blind eye, or at least they don't pick up the audio as much, and so you kind of get away with some of those things there. Twitch is the best platform to use for streaming when it comes to chat. So it's actually based around esports and video games, but they started the streaming for Twitch. So their chat is the most comprehensive. They have like all kinds of emojis and stickers and different things that your users can interact more on a Twitch live stream than they can a YouTube live stream or Vimeo Pro or live stream. So that's something to keep in mind. If you know you have an active crowd, somebody who's tech savvy, maybe Twitch is a better platform for you if you want to keep them interactive with the chat. Cool. So then I want to move down to Zoom Webinar. So the difference between these platforms here is an interaction style. So those first three that we listened up there is more of a one-to-many style interaction with the ability for people to chat. The Zoom webinar opens up that interaction a little bit more. So it then allows attendees to raise their hand and ask questions, and they can actually come on the video, right, and then start talking to the presenters, asking the questions with video on, separate of a chat, right? It's more of a one-to-one style feel. You feel like your question's actually getting answered there. However, Zoom webinar is not good for music streaming. And it's really only good if you have like one speaker series, one presentation. Monthly meetings is a good thing if you just want to keep your attendees engaged. Educational purposes, presentations tend to be better for Zoom, for using the Zoom webinar function and having everyone join Zoom webinar. And it also gets more expensive the more attendees you have. However, there's a way to get around this. So if you had a Zoom webinar account, you can have your panelists on a Zoom webinar account, which is actually what we use today on the main stage, and then stream that through YouTube Live. So if you wanted to do that just based on the functionality of Zoom, that's one of the options where you can go and take that, stream that right through YouTube Live, and then you have a panel feeling room, but you're having this stream out to multiple attendees more than the Zoom limit would have you if they were all in the Zoom room. Cool. OBS, OneStream, and Restream. So this is another tool, again, to make your event and programming feel as if it's like a TV show. It's live. It's exclusive. So OBS is a open source free studio for live streaming content. So it allows you to take multiple sources and put it together to a live stream. So you can be streaming your computer. You could be streaming a gaming that you're playing. You'd be streaming content coming in from your band that's playing elsewhere. So you can stream it in and then choose what channel to send to your live stream, just like a production house. The benefit to OBS, it's open source. It's free to use. There's a ton of stuff online on how to get started there. And it gives your attendees that feel of like, this is a produced show. This is real. This isn't just somebody with a video camera. This is an actual live stream. So OBS is open source. It kind of allows for more creativity. OneStream allows you to pre-record videos, edit them, and then schedule them to stream. So think of this as they're recording a TV show, The Bachelorette, right? It was recorded a long time ago, but they're now airing it, on Tuesdays. Same concept here with your event. If you want to go and pre-record everything, get it all set up and ready to go, then edit it, then stream it, gives it that feeling of exclusivity. Like it's only happening now, it's happening live. That's everything that somebody goes to a live event for, those same feelings. We're trying to replicate that in a stream. So OneStream helps with that, but also gives you that same high quality production content that you need there. Restream does the same thing. It also allows you to multi-stream out to several different platforms at the same time. So if you wanted one stream to go to Twitch, YouTube, and Vimeo Premium all at the same time, maybe your audience is spread out, Restream allows you to do that. Is also a studio as well, similar to OBS. So I put Facebook Live in here, but I put it with a caveat. Facebook Live, not super great. It's kind of good if you have groups and just to keep people engaged over time. I absolutely do not recommend doing a live event over Facebook Live. They typically don't go well. Facebook, if they hear licensed music, will shut down the event entirely, just cancel the live stream. They won't even put ads over the top of it. And as far as functionality goes, it helps, but it doesn't really help all that much. So if I was you guys, I'd stay away from Facebook Live, just not something at the moment that is good to use. Not going to spend a ton of time on these, but there's some cool other tools just to kind of take that production level to the next level. So you talk about first the hardware, then the streaming. This is kind of bringing it all together, the cookie on top, or the cherry on top, excuse me, for live streaming. First one is recording, so Loom. So we actually have a team member today that is recording this via Loom. It's going to create on-demand content, and we'll be able to post this now on YouTube and other places for people to come to after the event. Virtual backgrounds. There's two that we use. We use which is an interesting name. And that's currently in beta testing, but it's a full comprehensive background tool. It allows you to edit your backgrounds ahead of time, include logos, videos, or not videos, excuse me, photos and other things. You can kind of edit your background with and works with most streaming services. Chroma Cam is actually what I'm using today. So if you can see, you probably can't see my window right now, but I will show you after this. It's got a virtual background behind me and then an EventHub logo up at top. Just another easy way to do a virtual background there. And then transcribing. So this is for mostly closed captioning, again, for on-demand content down the road. Rev.com is one of the easier ways to go, and you just send them the video and they'll transcribe it for you. It's $1.25 per minute. I've used this before when I worked for a medical company, and it was one of the easiest platforms to use. It was a little bit more expensive, but the transcribing was always right, which is important. So just a couple more tools for you here. All right. So this is the other thing that I geek out on. I am in charge of marketing here. Yes, they did. Thank you, Michael. I'm in charge of marketing here at EventHub. This is the stuff that I do typically on a day-to-day basis, and these are the platforms that I use to do so. So the main idea here is you need to create a buzz about your event. And also the other thing to think about is that attendees will assume the quality of your digital event based on some of the quality of your social media ahead of time. And so you want to make sure that you're looking at this and putting content out there that's, one, important, informative, and engaging, but two, also of quality. Because if I know that you're putting on a digital event and this is what your social media looks like currently, I don't know the quality. If it's not great, I'm not going to assume that the digital event's going to be any better. So having a strong online presence and with your social media and with your websites and having it put together in a well-organized, engaging, interactive, and exciting fashion is important to make sure that your live event gets the attendees that it needs. So we'll talk quickly about social media. If you guys don't have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, you got to get it right away. It's a must-have for a virtual event. Make sure that you have that all. Get those set up. Put your brand logos in there and get them ready for you guys, ready to get out to attendees. There's two different ways to go about social media. There's an organic style of social media and there's paid. So organic is when you are posting on your own. And this is something that you post to the feed that everyone sees. This goes to your users, your followers, your attendees. And so it's important to pick platforms that follow your audience. If you know you're an older crowd audience, maybe you spend most of your time on Facebook. If you know that your crowd is younger, spend a majority of your time on Instagram. If you know that your audience enjoys reading articles and they like information, maybe Twitter is a better platform for you. You know, spend the time on the platform that makes the most sense for you and for your audience, and use those platforms to the advantage. So Instagram is good with photos and videos. If that's what builds excitement for your event, use Instagram. If it's information and stuff that people are going to pull away from the event, have longer winded posts on Facebook and Twitter about the speakers that you're going to have, what content they're going to give out, what you're going to learn from the event, right? It's easier to kind of convey that for Facebook and Twitter when you have those ability to post longer things with more information. And same with LinkedIn. And if it's a business event, that's the best way to do it, right? Put it on the business networking site and create buzz there. There are some scheduling tools that we use on a regular basis. Schedule Social is one of them and Hootsuite is another. So as a marketer, it's annoying to have to go on and post every single day. They have tools for that, so you can program your posts ahead of time and have a whole week's worth of Instagram content, a whole week's worth of LinkedIn content, a whole week's worth of Twitter content ready to go, and it'll schedule it at certain times throughout the day, so you don't have to worry about it. You can just throw it in there whenever you need to. And if for those of you who aren't great at graphic design, an easy graphic design tool is Canva, super user-friendly. It allows you to create good quality content that you can post via social media really easily. It's like $5 a month. Great product for that. So paid advertising is another thing, and I recommend it a ton for marketing for virtual events. Facebook is more of an attract your audience kind of style. So it allows you to actually pull in lookalike audiences from your attendees, actually go after your attendees via lead lists, and pull in groups of people that look similar to your attendees that you currently have, put them in front of your ads and drive engagement and drive ticket sales and registration through that. Google, it's more the audience comes to you. So they type in a certain keyword and they are looking for that event in particular and you pop up there. So if you have a business event that's important and it's about something in particular, have it as a Google keyword search, place an ad underneath it. If your event is more of a come one, come all, we have engagement and entertainment, everyone's going to like it, Facebook's a better platform for you. The other two marketing campaigns that I use and kind of tools that I use are MailChimp and Constant Contact. I use MailChimp mostly. MailChimp does a ton of things for me. It allows me to do email campaigns. I currently also do my landing pages for EventHub on MailChimp, and it keeps it all in one nice campaign. This is one easy way for you to attract attendees, put out good-looking emails that go out to them. It'll tell you how many people have opened them. It'll tell you how many people read them. It'll tell me how many people clicked on the links to follow your registration, so you can continue to improve your campaigns over time and keep track of them. It also automates campaigns to make sure the emails go out to keep your attendees engaged over time. A great tool to use for email marketing. So let's jump to the next one. So kind of going into planning and management here, and this analytics and tracking actually kind of goes over the first couple things that we talked about. So one, you're going to want to track them in your virtual event and what's going on in the actual event itself. But two, you're also going to want to track them outside of this. And so this is just another key feature to drive attendees to the platform, but make sure that you have your funnel set up to capture them wherever they go. So really it starts with your social media and analytics. When you put information out there, you put your posts out there, you put things on Google and on your website, you want to track where those people are coming from and where they're going after, how many of them are converting on your links and your registration. And if they're not, you need to make changes to your marketing campaign. But the ways to do this are with the Facebook pixel, and with Google Analytics. Google Analytics allows you to track these attendees as they go through your own pages. And Facebook Pixel allows you to track people as they come to your pages, your registration pages, and then you can retarget them if they didn't purchase. So kind of along those lines, Google Analytics and Facebook Pixel could also be put on your virtual event platform and on your registration software. Almost every registration and ticketing software allows you to put a Pixel and a Google Analytics tracking there, so you can track the success of your paid campaigns. You can also track where people are going from, how you can retarget them, and what your conversion is on your event, so you can make in-game adjustments. Going on in-game adjustments, when you have platform analytics, what I mean by platform analytics is your actual virtual event platform. You want to be able to track people through your virtual event. And the reason for that is that you can make in-game adjustments. So during the actual live event, let's say it's a 3-day event, we in our platform, we use Google Analytics, which is a real-time analytics software. We track where people go, how long they spend on the site, and that allows us to make those in-game adjustments. If I went on Friday night of a 3-night event and there were 25% of my ticket registration came on the platform, well, one, something's wrong with my funnel. There's something going on with the event. They can't get in. Or two, I need to send out notifications or reminders of the event because they forgot. Then on Saturday, I can make an in-game adjustment, figure out whether it's a social media blast or there's a problem getting on the site or they didn't get reminded of the event, and make sure that I get those people on for Saturday and Sunday. Because at the end of the day, with the tracking and the analytics, it's an easy way to go back to your vendors, go back to your sponsors, go back to other key stakeholders and go, we got X amount of attendees on the site. They were on for however long. And this is how many people came to your booth. And overall, we got the attendees here. If you didn't sell anything, I'm sorry. They were here. They were on the site. It's a good way to just kind of go back and be able to track those things there. And obviously, ticketing and registration platforms are important. I know I'm kind of going all over the place here, and I apologize. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on ticketing and registration. There's a ton of great platforms that we use. There's some that are taking part in this event. You can check out their booths later. If they have, the key thing there to note is if they have tracking with Google and Facebook, it helps you with those campaigns. If you want a free version of registration, Google Form and Jotform also allow you to do free registration. Again, leads are money, attendees are money. For sponsors and vendors, you want to make sure that you track them, have that information, and in essence can give them back to your key stakeholders at the end of the day to make that revenue. Cool. Moving on. So last slide, I'll go through this quickly and we'll open it up for questions. Some team tools that we use on a regular basis. Trello, card-based project management system. It's free for a certain group of users. Our development team uses this a lot. This would be great for if you had multiple facets of your event and you wanted to track the project status. Trello is a great option for that. Slack is the instant messenger that we use here as a team too. It's an instant messenger. It integrates, though, perfectly with Google Drive. So if you were sharing Google Drive files, it integrates right through Slack, and it pulls up on my Slack channel anytime anything is shared with me. We use the Google Suite. People prefer Microsoft. That's up to them. Google Suite's easy because it's cheap. It allows everyone to edit the same documents and keeps everything all in the same place. And that's why we use Google. And then Zoom and Hangouts, as you guys know, obviously Zoom is very popular. Hangouts is Google's version. Hangouts is free for up to an hour. And I think you get 24 hours of Hangouts before you have to pay. Zoom is free for 40 minutes for group meetings. You, in theory, can have unlimited. Just easy video conferencing tools, especially now that we're in a virtual sense. A lot of us are working from home. These are tools right here that allows you to keep in contact with your team in multiple different ways, for people to edit the projects and everything in multiple different ways, all going in a virtual sense. So a couple things to keep in mind there. Cool. That is it. I will now terminate my screen share and open it up for questions. So if anyone has any questions about the platform, now would be a time to do so. We got about 3 minutes.